think it's safe to say that this is the most I've ever missed Andy Serling in my entire life. Now that I have to host Talking Horses, I'm Jonathan Kinchin. This is Sarah Obadwi, and yeah, we're about to do Talking Horses, and I had to Google reprise because Andy always says a reprise of the scratches. Had to make sure that I was ready for that at the end, and I'm gonna try to do my best Andy Serling impression possible.
I would like to hear an Andy Serling voiceover from you for the entirety of this show, and that would really make my day.
I do a pretty good Andy Serling, actually. I won't
Yeah?
do it here today, but I do a pretty good Andy Serling.
Okay.
I think most will agree.
A lot of people around here do really good impressions of each other, honestly. Like, that is one of my favorite things about working here is everybody is very good at making fun of each other.
We see a lot of each other.
Yeah.
Okay,
Very
so I
true.
think what happens now is we go through these slates, right? Yeah, look at that. There's Flavian Pratt. Naira Bets, $200 deposit match sign-up bonus. Promo code BONUS200, NairaBets.com. I think you could take a picture of that little QR code because
Yeah.
that's technology, and you should try that.
Yeah.
And then I think now
Yep.
there's another one, and it's about track stats. Bet smarter and win bigger. Bet the action at Aqueduct with weekly track trends, statistics, and betting insights. Visit NairaBets.com. Stroll Rosario. I like when Andy tries to guess the horses. I have no idea who that horse was.
you
Naira
know
Bets.
these two, though.
Yes, I do know who these two are. Sierra Leone, right?
Yep.
Okay. $2,500 hit and split. Hit the late pick 4 at Aqueduct. Split $2,500. Opt in at NairaBets.com. And then you can, the asterisk, see site for details. Cross country pick 5 today. Little Tampa, Aqueduct. Sunday, January 12th. Cross country pick 5. Starts at 2:57. And then America's Day at the Races, Sunday, January 12th. If you didn't know what today was, you should look at your phone. But remember, Siri's always listening. We learned that today. Sarah and I did
Yep.
upstairs. Coverage starts at 1:30, and I think I don't know. We're on FS1, and we're on from 1:30 until we're not on anymore. So
I believe that's 4:30. And you
Is it
and
4:30?
me and Greg.
There it
and
is.
Richie and Acacia's out at Tampa.
yeah, she is
Yeah.
at Tampa, huh?
She is, yeah. Yep.
Hi, Acacia. I know she watches Talking Horses every
I'm
morning.
sure she's starting her day with this right now.
She should be. All right. So this is what happens. So then it comes up on the side, and then our picks come up, right?
They should, yeah.
Look at
Look
this.
at that. It's almost like they know what they're doing out there.
I've seen this show before.
Yep. Yeah.
Well, we're going to talk about this race for about 20 minutes because there's a lot going on here.
oh, yeah.
I think the 6 is going to win.
I do, too.
I thought the 6 was going to win before they scratched a lot,
Yep.
and that's about it.
Yeah, I mean, Proudfoot, talk about reading the condition book well. To be in this spot where she isn't in for the tag, but she's facing much softer company than she had faced in this race where she did almost win. And you think that when you have the horse in the middle of a 3-horse photo finish, you're never really feeling that good about it for the most part. And she did not ultimately get the victory in here, but she qualifies for this condition. I like you, I thought that she was going to be the horse to beat. So much so in this spot before the scratches. Now she only has 2 rivals. One of them has been in more 3-horse races in the past calendar year than I think I've ever seen before and toned up and still finds a way to finish second in most of them. And she's just better than these other 2 horses that she's going to be facing today.
Yeah, and that she's better, and she's absolutely loose. I am not contractually obligated to talk about this race anymore. Race 2.
Things don't get
Was that the
much
fastest
more
race on Talking
exciting.
Horses ever?
I think there's not really much else to say about it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
let's keep rolling. Race 2. I picked the 3. You picked the 6. You go first.
All right. Carbon's just been facing some better company, and I know that she is not a horse that's been in really good form as of late, but I thought that race 2 back showed some signs of life where she showed speed, which we had really not seen from her in quite a while, really, if ever to the same degree. Just in over her head in that last start. And then I think that now dropping to the $10,000 level, a race where she had been able to finish second at a big price, 2 back, she's going to run into some horses that want to be forwardly placed in here. She, I hope, is not ridden as aggressively as she was 2 back and sits a good stalking trip, and that's what I'm hoping for her at a bit of a price because I just don't want to pick Vegas weekend on top, and I know you don't either.
No, and I love this color-coded thing you do here. That's
Supposed to
fantastic.
listen, so I can just look quickly. And
That's great.
yeah, it's a
That's a
waste
lot
of
of
my
fun.
time, but it really helps.
No, you know what? We all have those things. I went with Laughter because I think the horse is going to improve second off the claim. And I thought that intuitively when I saw, oh, well, maybe give Atras a second try. And then I actually looked it up because I knew I was going to be on Talking Horses, and I was going to have to do an Andy Serling and prove that.
The numbers.
Yeah.
Not just
so
your thoughts.
Second
yeah.
second off the claim, Rob Atras in the last 5 years, 38 up for 166, 23%. So to me, it just confirms the idea that I had that when you have a guy like Rob Atras who does well in the claiming ranks, that if he didn't get it right the first off the claim, that sometimes he'll make even another adjustment to get it right. I thought Laughter ran well enough in the last the 2 starts prior to last time. I'm going to give him another shot just because I feel like the pace is going to be quick. I feel like the 1, the 2, the 6 drawn outside all could kind of get a little bit quick in there, and so I went with Laughter on top. We both are using Vegas Weekend, but neither of us wanted to use on top.
I just don't want to take this horse at 3 to 5. I mean, she has the credentials coming in. She has the consistency for a variety of different barns. This is her win 2 starts ago. She likes to be forward. I assume things are going to be to go from the rail with this horse, especially with Christopher Elliott aboard. But I agree with you that I think some others could be forwardly placed in here. Laughter's a horse that's been with Rob Atras before, as you mentioned. Was it a claim or a trainer change this time around for Laughter?
Probably a trainer change.
I don't know.
I don't see the little C thing.
Dove into it deeply, but he's had this horse before, and she ran huge for him, especially that one race, which was a career best for her. So he's done well with this horse in the past. She was in good form a couple starts ago when she was appropriately spotted, and I think that if you're trying to beat Vegas Weekend in your multis, you'd want to use a couple of horses in here, and I wouldn't have a ton of confidence to just pick one horse instead of Vegas Weekend and try to move on through my pick sequences.
I threw in Bad Connection just because I had to pick 4 horses, but I feel like it's one that could be loose if the other ones maybe take back. And sometimes when it's supposed to be speedy, sometimes taking like one of the longer speedy types can sometimes offer some value. But I don't need this horse in any multi-race bets or anything like that. Just an option for underneath.
Yeah, I hear you.
Race 3.
This is actually an okay race.
Yeah. I'm not mad at this one. What did you do here? Oh, we're on the same horse.
Yeah, just seems like the logical type who's going to be forward in here. And unlike Fireball, and he's shown that he can get out of the gate and overcome a little bit of trouble like he did in that start where he stumbled forward and was still able to pop up and assume the lead. And I thought that he didn't really lose anything in defeat here, finishing second to Shoot It True for Wesley Ward. And Soon to Be King is kind of who he is at this point. He obviously has some ability and some talent, but he just ends up being a horse who's behind the 8 ball because he likes to come from off the pace. And I just didn't see a ton of other confirmed speed to set it up for him to the extent where he'd end up getting the victory over Kenny B.
Yeah, I'm a Kenny B guy myself as well, just for a couple of reasons. One is I thought Soon to Be King would be a little overbet. I don't think that I'm not trying to beat Soon to Be King, but I also thought that the horse you had second, I had third, Fireballin', is going to be a little bit overbet because of the trip, right? I mean, the horse completely missed the break, came running, but the figure wasn't that fast, and I feel like people are going to overreact off of this trip.
Yeah, and I mean, look, this was an impressive victory, and Mike Maker has had a couple of first-time starters, especially the 2-year-olds that were firing last year more so than usual, but he's not necessarily a guy that's known for having great success with his 2-year-old first-time starters, and this one was able to overcome that slow break, get himself into some position, and sort of ease himself into the race, and ultimately got the victory at a decent price, but you missed 7-1 last time. The number is not fast enough to defeat what we've seen from some of the other horses. And, of course, he could take a step forward. That was only his first start. But I think that for the price that he's going to be, I'd rather have horses that are more proven commodities moving forwards.
Right. I think, with and I love this about Naira Bets, but being able to watch replays, it's just not the edge it once was. You still need to do it, obviously, but it's not the edge. Like, everyone's going to know about this trip with Fireball, and I feel like they'll overreact. The one horse that we have fourth that I think is going to take money, and I'm wondering if we have it for the same reason. Fourth, I feel like this is a nice horse. That's fine, but 1,000% George thinks this horse is a turf horse. He tried to run the horse on the turf first time out. It came off. He won in the slop and ran good enough, but then he moved him back to the turf, and now there's no turf. And you have a New York bred, you keep him up here, and he's run well on the dirt before, well enough, so give it a shot. Why not? I just don't believe that this is what he wants to do.
Yeah, I'm with you completely on that. And I also understand, as the connections, putting him here because he's shown that he can at least handle the surface. So when this race comes up, why not? But he's not a horse that I'd want anything to do with at 7-2, especially.
Race 4. Look at that. Are we on pace for
almost
breaking any
halfway done.
records? Just kidding. It was only 8 races today. What did we do here? I went with, oh, wow. My top pick, nowhere for you, so I guess I'll go first to try to explain myself. I like
it's
the
a very
draw.
logical horse.
Yeah, I like the draw. And in a situation where I do feel like there's a couple of speed horses in here. Jake Rocks on the rail, I think, has to be sent away from there, has some good races. The 1, the 3, another one who I feel like needs to kind of let run a little bit. He was a little rank last time, so sometimes the opposite of a horse being rank is just let them run. So I feel like the inside, they're going to run a little bit, and I feel like the 7's going to end up in a perfect spot right outside. I was wanting desperately to find a closer, which I think is what you did with the 4. Persistent Danger, not a closer, but a horse to come from out of it. I just thought the 7 was going to work out a nice trip.
Yeah, I hear you on that. He's drawn really well towards the outside of the other horses that do want to be forward. And Jake Rocks is kind of who he is, but he was showing that some signs of life lately and rounding back into some of his better form. He was able to get that victory at Parks on the 11th a couple starts ago for him. And look, he's just one of those horses that he is very well known at this point. He's a 9-year-old gelding. I like seeing that he is running some of his faster races for him as of late. But he also was claimed away from Rob Atras, and I know that he had a tough trip in that last start where he was checked and ended up being the favorite in that race and just wasn't able to hit the board and ran 4th, beating Welbin there. But he's got to go from the rail. And then you're dealing with a horse who just ran already this year in Quick Hammer, who also likes to show some good early speed. So I just went to a horse who might not be good enough, might not be fast enough, but I thought at least he's shown that he can sit off of some horses that want to be forward. We'll take a look at Quick Hammer here, who just ran. I just really don't like taking this horse as one that's coming back off of such short rest, having already run this year. I know that he's a horse that's likely to contest the pace in here, but I just didn't really see a path to victory for him because he's going to have to deal with Jake Rocks to his inside, Thank You John to his outside. I know that it's been a very long time, but G Munning used to be a little bit forward too. I doubt that we're going to see that again, but it's in there somewhere, so I just didn't want him as your favorite. And that led me to Persistent Danger, who he's got to prove it against this type of company, but he has some races on this circuit that weren't that bad. And the one last out, he was able to get the victory, and you can see that he's sitting in a great position there, stalking towards the inside. So I think that if he can work out the right kind of trip in this spot, he was going to be a fair enough price for me to take in here.
And here's the thing: is I think he's going to get the trip that you're envisioning he gets. I think you just had to make a decision of whether you thought he was good enough. I went that he wasn't, but I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I wanted to pick him off of the trip I thought he was going to get because I feel like they're going to run a little bit in here. I want to go back to one little quick thought with Quick Hammer, where I wanted to pick Quick Hammer, but because of the pace and situation, I didn't. I just want to point something out. People who watch Talking Horses, they're like us. They're racing nerds. This is just a theory I have. I am good. I'm 100% good. This is not a criticism of the voided claim rule. I think it's great for racing. I think it needs to exist. I do think, however, and I use it as a little bit of a handicapping thing, when a horse has a voided claim, and then they come back and then they run. Obviously, they have to work for the vets, so they have to be cleared after the voided claim. I feel like trainers can be more aggressive because whatever got them voided before would probably get them voided again. It might just be who they are.
Maybe.
And I think that allows them to then place them aggressively in spots because they feel like there's a better chance they're not going to lose them.
Maybe.
And I just feel like now Quick Hammer, who was voided for 16 and then came back and ran well enough for 10, they're going to run him right back off of that. That worries me a little bit in terms of I think Quick Hammer might be better than these horses, but I just couldn't get past the fact that I feel like it's not going to be an ideal trip for him.
I think it's an interesting theory, and I'm sure that sometimes that's absolutely right. And I think, unfortunately, with the voided claim, because we don't know why it happened.
Exactly.
That's absolutely possible.
Yeah,
but,
and it could be
we'll
obviously administrative. Sometimes it'll say if it's administrative or not. It says by the vet. Like you said, it's not 100% clear all the time. All right, race 5.
We're actually going to take a break.
We are taking a break?
I've been told by the voices in my head. So
let's just power through. I'm just kidding. All right, we'll take a break.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. with Naira Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Naira Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NairaBets.com.
We're back from a break, apparently. That's I don't know. It's if you're gonna break. I mean, we didn't have any time to go to the restroom. If you need to go to the restroom, that was a pretty
it's not
quick
really
break.
a break. Yeah.
It's just a commercial. I think.
It's just a break for them for sponsorships. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't make the rules.
All right. Who does? I love when I see an entry because I so desperately want to try to beat the entry because they're always over bet. I couldn't really find a way to beat this entry.
Yeah, I had a little bit of an idea in here. A late announced scratch. Carol T will not be running in this spot, so that was my idea to try to beat this entry. But now with her out, I just really couldn't make the case for any of the others outside of the entry. I have one of them on top. You have the other on top. They're both going to be the same price in the wagering and the same horse for wagering purposes. But Pam Pam, to me, just seems like the one who's going to be a little bit further off of things early. With She's Always Rosie, perhaps going to take the out and out lead in here, but they both have their credentials coming in, and I think even separately, they are both horses that would take quite a bit of money in this spot.
Yeah, I mean, there's really not a lot of meat on this bone because the conversation is between the two horses that are the exact same betting interest. So
Right.
I refuse to talk about this too long. I guess one of them is loose. I suppose maybe Kendrick with She's Always Rosie, who comes in off a 154-day break. But like I said, this is a wasted conversation because what
Who
am
cares?
I telling
for
you?
the wagering,
Yeah,
you know, like maybe next
yeah.
time if they're not a coupled entry or somebody ends up being claimed out of the spot and you want to bet them next time and they're facing each other. But ultimately, you're absolutely right because regardless of which one you like, you're going to get the other if you're betting this race in any scenario. So. I didn't really have a creative idea for anybody for second or third in here. I wish that She's Cool wasn't so pace compromised, but she also isn't exactly a winning type either.
She doesn't break well either, and in a small field like this, that doesn't go well. Yeah, I simply can't do it anymore. We have to go to race 6.
We have to. Those are the rules.
Race 6. This is a situation where I completely understand that Gallant Greta is a turf horse, but I do believe that Gallant Greta is the best horse. And sometimes in these spots, especially in the winter, I'm fine with just accepting, give me the best animal and I'll figure the rest out rather than trying to get cute in a situation and try to find someone else. I thought the 1 and the 2 were interesting. They both scratched. I feel even more confident about the 4 in here.
And I don't think it's necessarily proven that she's only a turf horse relative to her dirt start in this field, because that number, frankly, is good enough to beat the rest of these horses on the dirt. So I think that maybe she's a better turf horse, but overall, even if she runs at 61, that still puts her as being faster than what we've seen from most of these outside of a couple of occasional starts from Eastern Star. So I hear you on that. I just wanted to go with somebody that has at least had a couple of starts on the surface over time and has come out of some races where when she has been not off of a layoff and not over a sloppy sealed track and not making just her first start or going to the fence afterwards, she has 2 races that are 57 buyers that still aren't quite fast enough. But at least one of them was a second place finish, the scoring chance. He was able to ride the rail that day, and that's where you wanted to be. And then the other one, she was just sort of running a little bit later on versus Splashy, who came up with a front-running dirt race, who we're going to see later on in this card. So do I think that she's necessarily the absolute likeliest winner of this race? No. But she's going to be a slightly better price than a horse who we've only seen the 1 start on dirt from.
Yeah, and it's one of those situations where she had a habit of breaking slowly, and she broke better last time, so maybe they've resolved that. She's going to need to break better in this spot, I think. And then I guess the other one we could talk about before we move on is the 5 Eastern Star. I kind of defaulted into this. I had this horse originally picked fourth. I had it 4-1-2-5. So with the 1 and the 2 scratching, it just basically just rolled the 5 all the way down to second, which doesn't make me feel great about it. I just don't trust this horse. I love Dave Donk. But at 3-2 and 9-5, this horse still couldn't win. And so
Right.
and getting loose. 3-2, 9-5, and getting loose. So what scenario today goes well for Eastern Star? But like I said, I just kind of defaulted into this horse in second.
Right, because that's kind of what you're left with. At least this horse at times has shown some speed,
Yeah.
and that could help her.
There it is. Race 7. If I can get to it. I'm there. It's nice and colorful, isn't it? Let's start with the 7. You go first. Brooklyn
Dance.
Dance.
Yeah, I mean, this horse is a price in here and has something to prove against some of these types in here. But I thought that the pace scenario was potentially going to be honest, if not a little bit hot for this circuit going the mile, because you have a lot of horses in this spot that have shown sprint speed that are now trying to stretch out to the mile distance for the first time. And Princess Becca has proven multiple times that she's just faster than a lot of these other horses, but she's going to have to deal with some others on the front end in this spot. And this is her start on the 20th of October, and she hasn't been able to quite see out the mile distance when she's taken some pace pressure. And so, yes, she has the faster numbers, and she's running into some better horses, I think, overall. And this is her win going the 7 furlongs, but I just wonder how is she going to hold off Peanut or Pickle and Splashy if she shows the same kind of sprint speed, and even Focus Pocus was under the gun, and they're putting a 10-pound apprentice up. So what are the intentions there? And Chasing Daylight's not slow, and then still be able to get the mile distance and get the victory for the first time. So at a short price, I just wanted to go with a horse who was going to be a little bit further off the pace, but Princess Becca is the obvious horse to beat.
Yeah, I mean, I completely agree with that. It feels like one. I'm hopeful that you know, Peanut or Pickle, who's stretching out, won't want to get hooked up with a horse like Princess Becca, and I'm hopeful that, you know, from the outside, Chasing Daylight, who's got some early speed, isn't going to force the hand from far out there. And I was hoping that Princess Becca could get a little bit comfortable. The other reason, she comes in off an 84-day break, and she's run well fresh. She broke her maiden off a 244-day layoff, and so I just felt like, you know, Michelle Giangulio's got her figured out in terms of what she needs to run her best off of a break. So I kind of defaulted into there. It takes a lot for me to find a closer, because so often it
doesn't work out.
It doesn't work out, and so I have to fall in love with a closer to be able to
You
try
just
to.
weren't falling in love with any of these?
I wasn't falling in love with any of these.
I
So it
understand.
was a Princess Becca thing for me. I guess I have the 3 Splashy for Linda Rice, who I thought ran well last time, you know, and it's one of those situations where it's the second start with her, and maybe Linda's just figuring this one out, and Linda's one of those folks, when she stretches horses out. I think we saw it. The days run together. Was it yesterday? No, last week. What's today? Sunday? Last week, I think. Maybe it was Sunday. Linda had one that, oh yeah, it was last week, that she stretched out in the pick 6 carryover on Sunday last week that galloped, that didn't look like they wanted to stretch out, didn't show any stretch out potential, or prior to that with Rob Falcone, and then shows up in her barn and suddenly wants to run a little bit longer. So maybe Splashy is one of those as well.
Yeah, I looked up Sprinter Outs on Dirt, maiden winners last out. She's 5 for 12 with a $3.40 ROI, 67% in the money past 5 years. And I didn't particularly like Splashy, but I thought that stat was impressive.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, so we had a couple of scratch down fields that, you know, that weren't a lot there, not a lot of meat on the bone, but we're
This
gonna make
race
up
is
for
great.
it in this race. I thought was outstanding, and
Yeah.
when I first kind of passed through it, I was like, oh, I like Victory Way. I'm gonna pick the 9 in here. And then as I kept moving around, I said, this race is entirely too creative to take the favorite. I ended up on the 8 Yo Daddy, which I'll get to, and then we'll start with you on Treaty Obligation, the 3.
I think that he's just really improved over his progressive starts for Linda Rice. And claiming off of Chad Brown is not something that we usually see, something that's easy to do. But I think that he's run into some good fields as he's gradually moved back up in class after breaking his maiden for the $50,000 tag. And he was able to get progressively faster through those 3 starts as well. And he even had a little bit of a stumble at the start in this race, not quite as bad as a couple of the other horses who had some trips in here. I know the pace was honest in this race, going the mile on December 7th, but he just powered home, and this was a good field that he was facing, and so he was one that I didn't feel like he would be the out-and-out favorite in this race. I know he's not as big of a price as some of the others that might also have some credentials and be more interesting, but he's just one that's moving in the right direction, and I thought that his race last time showed that he's capable of facing some good company yet again, and this is good company. This is not going to be an easy test to win for anybody in this field.
Yeah, and I'm a believer that this idea that you want to claim from like a 2 for 98 trainer, I don't think that's always the case, because they're 2 for 98 because they're not that good, which means that you're getting a horse that you're going to have to basically reprogram. And I think when you can claim horses from people like a Chad, a Todd, a Brad Cox, a Linda Rice, a Rob Atras, a Rudy Rodriguez, I'm just naming names of trainers, or Bill Mott or whatever, I think you're getting a horse that there is ability, if you just can change it up the scenery a little bit, to get him to run well. And the other thing to keep in mind is that, like, Treaty Obligation and for Kolarevic Stables, they're not in the game for having $50,000 claimers. And so the fact that they dropped this horse and Linda took him and the horse improved, it's no indictment on Chad. It just makes it
works out sometimes, it
works
doesn't
for
others.
Yeah, sure. There's a lot of horses that have been claimed from Chad for 50 that haven't run well, and Linda just found one that would. I thought Treaty Obligation made a lot of sense. I ended up picking the 8, Yo Daddy. Linda Rice, here to wrap it up. I just thought the races that this horse ran and those starter allowance races this summer will absolutely win this race. And obviously there's a couple turf tries, there's a couple bad trips, a couple of excuses. All the way through since those past races at Saratoga, and I was just, like I said, I thought that the 9 in here was going to be tough victory way, but I felt like this race deserved more creativity, and Yo Daddy was the one that I ended up going with.
I thought his last race was huge because Mama's Gold was loose on the lead. Magical Ways finished the second in there, who's going to be in this race again. And Yo Daddy had kind of been a little bit one-dimensional prior to that in a lot of his successes recently, where he was on the turf and even in that start 2 back over a sloppy sealed surface, because he was on the lead and just able to keep on going with it. Well, he showed that he had been more tactical in the past in some of his other starts, and that he could do it again, because he's kind of the only horse in that race that was really making that move from further off of things when the pace setter that spot was already claimed by somebody else who was faster than him. So I like that versatility that he showed. I don't necessarily think that we're going to see a replication of the 90 and the other figure that Magical Ways got in that race last time out. And they might be bet off of it behind a loose on the lead type as Mama's Gold was. And this is a tough race with a couple of others. So I opted for not going with that race, but his race last time was huge. There's no denying that.
Let's quickly hit expected value, who we both have second, and then I'll let you give your case for Reddington. For me, the expected value thing was strictly the horse ran well last time, has been off since March, and is a new gelding. So there's a whole lot of opportunity for this horse to improve, and that's why I landed on expected value.
He's just shown that he is capable of improving over time. I mean, he was able to get that victory second time out, take progressive steps forward since then. And he hasn't had a lot of time to show us what he can do on the racetrack, but he's been able to show that he's capable of running fast numbers. And Vespucci was coming into that race off of a huge effort, and he was able to just nail him on the wire in time. And Chad Brown coming off of layoffs like that, it doesn't bother me, because he's had plenty of success doing so, and this is a horse that has been capable of running okay with some time off in the past. And then Victory Way is kind of the horse that I think is going to take a lot of the bulk of the play in here. He has some of the fastest numbers overall. He's just never been able to put races back to back on the track before that are of that high number caliber, and Reddington ends up finishing behind him when they both ran into El Grandeo, who's one of the better older horses now that we have on this circuit. But I just didn't want to take him as a horse who's going to be kind of your favorite in here, who has a lot of talent, but has yet to really prove that he can stay sound and stay on the racetrack and run those big 90s or above back to back.
Look at us.
We did it.
We did it without Andy. How about that? I'm so proud of us. I think we do slates again, right?
We do. A reprise, actually.
I don't say reprise yet, do I? That's later.
No. But
I think
it's
later.
technically a reprise of the
Oh,
slates.
a reprise of the slates.
Yeah.
Okay. For a reprise of the slates, there's Flavian again, who's going to win an Eclipse Award, I would imagine.
I don't see why not.
$200, what I call it earlier, a deposit match. Sign up
Deposite.
bonus, promo code bonus 200, NyraBets.com. You can take a picture of that little thing if you want to impress your grandchildren or whatever that you know technology. Tell them that use the QR code today. Take a little picture of that little square in the corner on your phone, and then, okay. Track stats. There's Joel again. And if you want to bet smarter and win bigger, then you better use track stats. I don't know why you want to argue about it. Just use track stats. Nyra Bets, $2,500 hit and split. Hit the late pick forward Aqueduct and you split $2,500. You can opt in at NyraBets.com. I think you actually have to opt in. So do that. There's Sierra Leone. Also likely to get some hardware here in a few weeks. And the cross country pick 5. And it starts at 257 at Tampa. I think the cross country pick 5 is a great opportunity. I don't think there's as many CAW wagers in there, and I think that it always feels like it overpays.
Yeah, there was one that I think had 3 or 4 heavy favorites and one like 5-to-1 shot, and it ended up paying over $400 for 50 cents.
Easy
This
work.
is crazy.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Look at that. And then America's Day at the Races. Coverage starts at 1:30 Eastern. Sarah tells me it's until 4:30. Sometimes I don't look because I just know I'm going to be here till the end. And then it's going to be me, you, and Greg. That's what I've heard.
One day someone just messes with you and you're like, oh, actually, we're going to cover this now. And they're like, oh, I'm not going to make the train.
Yeah, I don't
hang out.
I don't handle that well.
I might play an April Fool's prank. We'll see.
Just don't do that. April Fool's.
Jonathan, where are you going?
I wake up so nervous on April 1st. Okay, so I think this is where I say that Chris Griffin's going to come up at some point. I don't know when, to do a reprise of the scratches, and there is some scratches. And I don't know how does Andy say bye? Does he just say like, have fun,
We're done.
see you later? Okay, have fun, see you later.
Horse racing? Check. Weekly promotions? Got 'em. Huge payouts? You bet. With Nyra Bets. Download the app today and bet on any track, anywhere, anytime with live HD horse races, betting tips and tutorials, expert picks, and more. You bet with Nyra Bets. Join now for a new member bonus at NyraBets.com.